What's up, guys? It's Uncle Freedom coming to you on another well-deserved day off. Now, recently, I think it was yesterday or the day before, Lucas Bike can actually put out a clip on Instagram talking about match grade. And he asked the question, what does that even mean? Is there really a difference? Are you a match grade shooter? Well, pump the brakes. There are some differences, and there are some things that you look for, but some of them aren't as big a deal as you can think about. So let's take a look at what match grade really means. We'll start with a handgun. You see things all the time. Glock's new Gen 5 marksman barrel. I think I've met 3 people in my life that could actually physically show me the difference between a match grade barrel and a normal barrel. The sad fact is 99.9% of shooters are never going to outshoot the capability of a stock Glock barrel. It's just not going to happen. I've bought match barrels and it didn't improve shit because my limitations as a handgun shooter are not at the level of where I can see the difference between those two things. Now, if I'm sitting out there drilling one-hole groups at 50 yards with a handgun, yeah, I'm probably going to be able to tell the difference. But for combat shooting and reactive shooting and defensive shooting, you're not going to see a difference. I'm sorry, you're not. It's just a waste of money, and it's a marketing gimmick. We use words like match the way people use words like DevGru, or the way Wish.com uses things like match SOCOM, Super Special Ranger Delta CAG backpack. Okay? That's how we use match in the gun community. Now, if we start talking about rifles, things are a little different. For example, this is a match rifle. This is a LaRue Stealth upper. This is a match grade upper. It just is. What are you looking at for match grade upper? Well, in a semi-auto platform, you're looking for barrel rigidity, great stress relieving inside of the barrel, excellent rifling, sometimes even 5R if you can get your hands onto it. One of the biggest things you're going to see with a match grade upper is you're going to have a tighter chamber. The way the chamber is reamed out is going to be incredibly consistent, which plays into the ammunition later on. But it means that when you fire a round and the firing pin hits that primer in the back, your brass expands perfectly in the exact same time in all directions, and it creates a perfect seal, giving you the best pressure possible for creating that small jump from the brass into the leads and lands of the rifling, which gives you an accurate shot. So yeah, there is a difference between match grade. You will notice on ARs, almost every match AR is a heavy-ass barrel. This barrel is damn near an H-bar that's inside of this LaRue gun. It is heavy, but it is consistent and accurate. Consistency is the name of the game in this world, guys. It's not good enough. Consistency is what makes match possible. This barrel flexes and whips in the exact same way all the freaking time. It has excellent resistance to heat, and it's got great rifling. The barrel itself is super accurate. But all that aside, I mean, that'll make a difference, but the only one that you're really going to be able to buy that'll make a difference, which is the reason match exists, is a trigger. Something like this 2-stage trigger here. I've got 2.5 pounds on a take-up and an incredibly consistent, reliable, and repeatable 2-pound break. It's going to do that and feel like that every time, allowing me to create as little disturbance as humanly possible looking through this optic when I break that shot. Handguns are the same way. If you have a consistent trigger on a handgun, it's going to allow you to make better shots with that handgun. So a trigger, yeah, that's the one upgrade you can really do to a gun that's going to make a difference. Now, the big one, though, is ammo. Ammo, ammo, ammo. That is where match grade takes on a meaning all by itself, and it's not as clear-cut as you think it would be. Right here, I have a box of IMI Razor Core 5.56 77 grain HPBB BT match. Hollow point boat tail match. Now, is this match grade ammo? No. No, it's not. However, that is a match grade projectile. That is a Sierra 77 grain Match King. That is a match grade projectile. And when you're looking at projectiles, all you're looking at as far as match grade goes is that the jacket is uniform and consistent, and you don't have spots that are slightly thicker, because when you fire a round that has inconsistent jacket capabilities, what you end up with, or you have a slightly different lead composition inside of there, you get something that wobbles when you shoot it, and that means it's not accurate. So match grade when it comes to projectiles is an extremely consistent jacket thickness and construction, and a very consistent lead density and dispersion inside of the round itself, giving you the ability to create a very tight spiral when you fire your round, and it doesn't wobble its way off of target thus making it match grade. So yeah, there's a difference in projectiles. Now, why is this not match? It says match on the box. Well, the bullets match. There's another part of this that comes to match grade ammunition, and that's actually all of it. Brass is another big one. You can go really into the weeds making ammunition for yourself or loading stuff, but one of the things you have to keep in mind is if I have two identical pieces of brass on the surface, and one of them has a total internal volume of 26.8 grains, and the next one has a total internal volume of 27.5 grains, 26.8 grains is going to create a lot more pressure and more velocity, and it's not going to be consistent. Ammo, consistency, name of the game, right? You mitigate that by buying brass from a really good manufacturer. Hornady has good match brass. Lapua has great match brass. Nosler has great match brass. And believe it or not, like Starline, after you fire it once, it's not as consistent on like fresh virgin brass, but once you fire it once and you've sized it, it's a lot more consistent for internal volume. But if you're hunting for range pickups brass you can use, as long as you batch your brass out by year, Lake City is some of the best brass you can use for reloading that you can get in bulk. You're not going to change my mind about that. Lake City brass is actually what's used in the most consistent 5.56 round ever created in the Mark 262 by Black Hills Ammunition. Lake City brass is really good brass. Just make sure you batch it out and keep track of the number of firings you've got, because that will change how consistent your brass is time to time. Primers is another big one. Primers are the thing that starts everything off. Remington 7.5s, BR4s from CCI, the 205 gold medal match from Federal. These are match grade primers. All match grade primers means is that the cup thickness is exactly the same in every one, and the compound is a little more consistent. Meaning when your firing pin hits it, it burns the same way every time, which means you get a consistent spark through the flash hole into your powder. Now, powder's another big one. There are some powders that are not match powders. 335 from, Hodgdon is one of them. 4064 from IMR, another great example. Those aren't match powders. Meaning if I throw 25.2 grains of 335 and then I throw 25.2 in the next one, I might be off, like, a lot. Like, volume-wise or speed-wise, because the powder's just not as consistent. Now, if I insert something like Varget or N540 from Vitavori, those are going to be incredibly consistent. Kernel to kernel, you're going to get the same volume inside of the case if you've got the same weight, which means you're going to have reliable, consistent speeds coming out of the gun. That powder is going to burn very consistently, which means that now I've got a great primer sat into a case that I've weighed out and made sure that the internals are as close as I can get them. And the walls aren't thicker in some places, because that's how you get you with brass. And now I've got a powder that burns consistently, and I get extremely comparable loads from drop to drop with it, which nobody drops powder for that. You use tricklers and auto tricklers to measure out the powder. But if my 26.2 is 26.2 is 26.2, it's going to be very consistent how fast it actually pushes that, the pressures that are created. And then I'm going to top all that off with a match grade, ultra consistent jacketed and lead projectile. So I'm giving myself all of those tolerances that are stacking together so that I have the best possible capability to make an extremely accurate shot. Now, the reason I say stuff like this is not match, I've pulled these apart before, and I've shot these over chronographs. If you're shooting precision rifle and you're not shooting over a chronograph, you're not shooting precision rifle, because you don't have one of the most important pieces of data, which is how fast is the fucking thing going. The boxes will tell you how fast it's going in their 24-inch test barrel that they had in a controlled environment with, normal heat. That's going to change when you go out to the range. You got to shoot these things over a chronograph to get that data point, because everything else you do will be based off of that data point. So when you start dealing with that, and what does that mean? Well, it could be the powder's off by 1/10. Maybe the brass is thicker on some and not as thick on others, which means I have less case capacity, therefore higher pressures, which gave me a spike. When you start talking about match grade ammo, I'm anal retentive when I hand load. If I'm shooting for something that's super match grade, I want standard deviations below 20, and if I can get a single digit, because that means that my shot to shot, when I fired that, is so consistent, I am getting a less than 9 feet per second sometimes variance between shot to shot, because that doesn't seem like a lot to you. 50 feet per second is not unheard of out of factory box ammo. And it may not seem like that big a deal. And at 200 yards, you're not going to see a difference between the two things when you're shooting at stuff. But if I back that out to 800 yards and I try to make a shot, that 50 feet per second that this round was going faster or slower is going to be a huge difference on target. It's going to hit higher, it's going to hit low. It's also going to get pushed more by the wind, depending on if it was slower, because it's not traveling at the same speed. All of the work that goes into making a projectile that's is an efficient machine as it can be, from the the hybrid and the perfect ogive shape to the way the boat tail is designed to create less ballistic drag when you fire it. And they've gone through all this work to ensure that the jackets are incredibly uniform and the lead density is perfect around, and so you don't get any wobble when you fire it from the rotation or gyroscopic instability. And then we take all of that and we put it over a powder that's got a 50 to 60 foot per second variance shot to shot, or that can be my fastest to slowest round in a 9-shot string. I'm going to miss with one of those rounds. So it's all a thing that works together. If you want true match ammo, you need consistent brass, consistent primers, great propellants, and a consistent projectile. All loaded consistently the exact same way with the consistent length, great crimp, whatever you're going to do. But all of those things have to work in conjunction, because I can tell you right now, I can take my Ruger AR-556 that's issued to me by my department, put 193 in it, and I'm going to shoot about a .13 or .14 inch group at 100 yards all day long. But I can give it some Mark 2.62 and dial it down to a .7 inch group consistently all the time. That means that that rifle is a sub-MOA rifle, but only with that ammunition. That's how it works. You gotta, ammo makes a huge difference. And just because it says match on the box doesn't mean shit. If you're going to hand load your own ammo, which is the reason you see most guys that shoot long distance load their own ammo, is because we control how consistent it is. We know if a piece of brass is out of spec. We know if a piece of brass has got too thick of a wall and it's going to create a pressure spike, so we ditch that piece all the way around. We can read those signs because it's what we do. So consistency is the name of the game in ammo, and this is one of the biggest impacts you'll have on your ability to shoot precision, and one of the things, the only time that the word match truly matters. Because I've shot some $400 rifles that could absolutely shoot lights out if you gave them really good consistent ammo. Now, the next one that I see all the time from people, and I see it a lot of classes when I would teach, is, my rifle's a sub-MOA rifle. That's awesome. Are you a sub-MOA shooter? Lucas touched on this when he says, are you match grade? We'll go one step further. Are you a sub-MOA shooter? Because there is a difference. If you have a gun that is capable of half-inch groups all the time with a good, consistent ammo, and you have never shot below a 1.5 inch group in your life, you are not going to suddenly shoot 0.5 inch groups that gun is capable of because you bought the gun. You don't get to buy accuracy. You have to put time into this to learn how to do it. And when I say, are you a sub-MOA shooter, I don't mean that the best group you shot the whole day you were on the range came in at a 0.7 inch group. That is not a sub-MOA shooter. If I shoot 10 groups in a row, 5 rounds, 9 rounds, 10 rounds, whatever, if I shoot 10 groups in a row and I measure every one of those groups and then I average that out, if the average is below an MOA, I am a sub-MOA shooter on that gun system with that ammunition all day long. I know I can do it. There's the data that backs that up. That's what's important when you deal with this. So just because your gun's sub-MOA and you feed it match ammo doesn't mean you're going to shoot match standards. You're not going to shoot sub-MOA and be a precision rifleman if you didn't put all the work in to learn how to do it correctly the first time, which is a topic for a whole other video. So guys, long and the short of it, match grade does matter. There is a difference. You're going to get barrels that have a better stress relief. They're going to deal with heat a lot better. They're going to have more consistent rifling and better chamber diameters that are going to give you the most consistent flow of that brass into the chamber, which is going to lead to your bullet hitting the lands exactly the same every single time. That's going to give you that consistent part of the equation. But if you've got shit brass in there that's inconsistent in how thick the walls are, it's not going to expand the same time, which means you're not going to take advantage of your match grade barrel. That said, if you've got match grade projectiles on top of shit brass, and just because you bought them you think it makes you better, no, it's a complete package. You need good primers, good brass that's consistent. You need great powder that burns the same every single freaking time, and the load densities are damn near identical from drop to drop. And you need bullets that are going to be precisionally done so that they are ballistically superior to other things. They have low drag, they buck the wind, and they're efficient going down range. You add all of those things together and you get match grade. That's what match grade actually is. So if you got questions, comments, or concerns, shoot me a message, like, subscribe, tell a friend, share the video, because by God, we're growing and it's fun. But until next time, guys, I am Uncle Freedom. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. I'll see you soon.